Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Tom Callahan here with you, joined as I am every week by head coach Jerome Boom Boom Bechard. Boom, good to have you on board here. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Time to talk a little hockey here. Actually, we have a lot of things to talk about. Number one, we have breaking news. We have a trade. We'll get to that. Number two, I figure I'll just tease them all at once. Number two, we have rule changes that are going on, and it's interesting. The league is taking a little bit, I'll say, different stance on supplemental discipline, the way things have been going. I'm really interested to get your thoughts on this as well. And I'm sure fans who have been following, and you can
You're going to
follow
get me in
along.
trouble. You're going to get me in trouble.
Going to get you in trouble. I'm not. You're going to get you in trouble. I am not getting you in trouble. So we've seen, first of all, we've seen more suspensions this year than ever before. And so Dave Jackson is now the new dean of discipline in the league. The league announced some rule changes, which we're going to get into here in just a moment. But I thought it was really interesting that just kind of looking last year to this year that, the hammer is falling more often, I guess. And whether that's a product of bringing on Dave Jackson in the role he's in, maybe that's part of it, but also, the league maybe trying to take a little bit tougher stance on some of the
I don't think it's, excuse me, I don't think it's because of Dave, because Dave was involved last year. So, I just think, well, first of all, Dave works for the FPHL and the ownership groups and this and that.
Right.
I think the ownership groups in general are maybe wanting to see a little bit more, just protecting the players a little bit more. There's a lot of stuff that goes on out there during games. And in my humble opinion, it's called a lack of respect. When you really think about it, you got 25 or 20 grown men out on the ice, 18 grown men out on the ice skating, upwards to how fast, Tom?
20, 25 miles an hour.
20, 25 miles an hour with a lethal weapon in your hand.
Right.
If you choose to use it that way, and this and that. So, I don't know. And it's going to sound really funny coming from me because I played right on the edge. I was on that edge. I was that guy. My stick was in your side. I didn't want to hurt you, but you felt it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, right on the edge type thing. And I don't know. I just think there's such a lack of respect in things. Just because, and, not off topic, but on kind of the same thing, the Bechard hit. So Bechard has a broken jaw. That was a hockey hit. Should there have been a fight after that?
That drives me nuts when you have to fight after a clean hit. I hate that.
Well, no, but it's not a clean hit. Well, it is a clean hit, but you know what? That's if I'm on Bedard's team, that's my boy.
You feel obligated.
That's my
to
boy.
stand up for him,
Whether it was
right.
clean or not, I'm
Right.
like, hey, he's in my opinion, he's untouchable. Anybody, whether clean, dirty, ugly, this and that, I'm coming after you because that's my job. Is
Right.
to make atonement for that. Whatever type thing. So, but in our league, whether it's clean, dirty, or this and that, there's always something coming. Always something coming, whether you score or this and that. And what do you want? What do you want me to do? It's 6-0. Get your team to play better. Is it the ref's fault? Is it my fault? I don't know. I don't know. Why do you, I don't know. It's just their lack of respect kind of on all aspects. I know they've cracked down on lewd comments or lewd gestures, which totally agree. I don't know. I don't know. I'd rather drop your gloves and go beat the hell out of somebody as opposed to, flipping the bird off. Like, I mean, like, really, guys? Like you're role models. You got 5,000 people watching you at a game if it's sold
Right.
out or what. I'm like, come on, guys, that's not cool, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from, and I also, so I agree with the lack of respect part, and I think so. Earlier this week, Joe Pace Sr. got 6 games for basically wrestling with a linesman, and there's way more to it than that. That is an oversimplified explanation, but to me, that's another line like that lack of respect, even for the officiating, whether it's right or wrong within the game,
Well,
or the lack of respect between the players. Like it's just everywhere.
So, you know, like, I mean, if I look back, right? So, one, I don't think I've really snapped in the FPHL. Like, we've been involved in the line or the bench clearing brawl in Winston-Salem. Might have snapped there a little bit, but you know, I didn't get thrown out, and well, I did get thrown out, but I mean, you know, back in the day, Cottonmouth, you know, I lost my cool with the refs and throwing water bottles and chasing the guys halfway down the ice and this and that, and I look back at it now, and more times than not, when that happened, I mean, when that happened, we were playing really bad.
Right.
And the refs were calling us, and I thought it was the refs' fault at the time, but it's really not the refs' fault. It's we were playing that bad. And, you know, for the most part, those were all penalties. Every now and then, maybe not, but you know, just kind of that goes. So, you know what, if you're and just take the Paces down in Mississippi. You know, Joe's got the same team as he had last year. They work hard. But if you are thinking you're going to get any different, if you're thinking you're going to get any different results with the same team,
Right.
it's not very smart on your part.
Right.
I mean, it's the same antics. It's the same stuff. I'm like, you know what? And don't get me wrong. I want to entertain the fans. And, you know, when I played, I was an entertainer, you know, but I wanted to win. And I wanted to score goals. I wanted to do this and that. And you know what? When there was nothing going on, it was a Sunday game and it was 0-0. You know what? I would make somebody fight me. I wouldn't ask somebody to fight me. I would make somebody fight me by going after their best hockey player, by maybe catching somebody with their head down or this and that, and just stuff like that. And you know what? I mean, the other stuff is just kind of whatever. Like, I mean, and so you got Mr. Pace Sr. I'm like, guys, you guys are winning the hockey game. It was 2-2 or whatever when most of this stuff happens.
Right.
They're in a hockey game. Like, cut the crap out and let's go win the hockey game. Let's stop putting on the show. Let's go win the hockey game and put on the show later on to whatever. And then you might, I don't know. That's my take on it.
And they've got a guy on that team who's got 0 points and now 122 minutes in penalties, I think. We saw, Wicks got jumped off a face-off for no reason. Cody Wickline is not fighting anyone.
Right.
Like, that's not his game. And then, same thing. And here's the thing. It happens over and over and over and over.
Right.
And that is organizational.
Right.
That's not a loose cannon player. Well, I can't control this guy. No, it's happened now for months.
Right.
You clearly haven't talked to him about it. Maybe you've even encouraged it.
Right.
Otherwise, it would either stop or you'd be annoyed enough to get rid of the player.
Well, and that goes
who contributes 0 points.
And that kind of goes to some of the rule changes. And I'll be honest with you, I know them, but I don't really.
I'm going to read them. So
I don't really pay a whole lot of attention, but at the end of the day, it's holding the coaches accountable. And you know what? If somebody gets, more than 2 games, I get a game. I sit because I didn't control my player.
Right.
And you know what? I don't know if I agree with it, with all that. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think we're fairly respectful. I mean, I want to beat you in both categories. I'm going to beat you on the scoreboard, and if you want to be a bunch of jerks, I'm going to beat the wheels off you as well physically.
And you know what? The NHL, the way they stopped the bench clearings and all of the brawls that were going on that were kind of, endemic in the 70s and 80s, they started suspending coaches.
Right.
And once the coaches became liable for the actions of the players, it stopped in a hurry. So I'll tell you what, that's a good time for us to take a quick break here. When we come back, I'm going to read you the rule changes, fans. If you haven't heard them yet, you haven't seen them, come on back and join us. We do have that trade to talk about. And then later on in the program, Kirk Underwood also going to join us. So stick around. There's more coming your way here in just a moment. And this is the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. And welcome back on the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Tom Callahan here, Jerome Boom Boom Bechard, head coach of the River Dragons, joining me every week. A little bit later on, we'll have Kirk Underwood on. But, Boom, so here, I want to read the rule changes here that are coming up. There's a couple of them. These went into effect January 4th. So, in regards to multiple game suspensions, those that are appealable, any team that has a player receive a suspension of 2 games or more will have their 18-man game night roster reduced by 1 player per occurrence until such time as the suspension expires. In addition to the roster reduction, the impacted team's head coach will be suspended 1 game for every 2 games that player receives. There's no limit to the amount of roster reductions or coach suspensions any offending team can incur should multiple game suspensions overlap. Trading, waiving, or expiring 4-game PTOs do not impact those penalties. The requirement to provide a qualified and approved coach behind the bench remains in the case of a suspended coach. So let's start with that one. Number 1, if a guy gets 2 or more games, so 2, 4, 6, then it's 1, 2, 3 for the coach. But also, now 17, 16, 15 guys you're allowed to dress.
You know what? That I like.
Really?
That I like. That I like because it hurts the team. I don't particularly like the coach getting dinged, per se, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little off on the coach thing. But I mean, I'd like to think if it's an Amesbury situation, I mean, obviously he's probably the biggest one in the league. I mean, he's got his 18 games. Now, at that point, I'd like to think after,
So the coach would have got 9.
Right.
And you would have been down a man, 1 player per occurrence until the suspension expires. So 18 games, they're dressing 17.
I guarantee you that would have changed, type thing.
Meaning he wouldn't have gotten as many games?
He would have got as many games. I would like to think they probably would have only had to play short a certain amount, not all 18. That's what I would think the league would do that. You know what? Because at the end of the day, you got a guy, you got a Pinkowski. You stop doing what you do, man. Now we got to play short. Not just you. Now we have to play short.
Now we
have to play short because of you, type thing. So I don't mind. I don't mind that. I actually kind of like it because that has an impact on the game itself, and it hurts the team. So you have to think twice. Do I really want to keep this guy around? Is he an asset or is he a hindrance? And you know what? At the end of the day, I like a hard game. I want to be physical. I want to hit. I want to run over you. I want to, win those battles. But I also want to do it, in between the whistles. I don't need all that stuff. And you know what? If 2 guys want to scrap because of that, because of how we play, by all means, go knock yourself out. But, just all this sticking and slashing and jumping guys from behind and this and that and whatever, that's gotta stop. Don't need those.
So and with that, let's go back to Amesbury for a minute here because he's a repeat offender within the year window. That's why his suspension went from 12 to 18, and the next time he does it, because there will be a next time, it's again going to increase by 50%, which means 27 games.
Well, at some point.
So
then,
this
at some point
suspends a Danbury coach for a long time.
Right. At some point, you got to really evaluate, do you want this guy in the league? And that's maybe what the league is actually saying,
Right.
without actually kicking him out.
Right.
And you know what? Danny hasn't been innocent through all this throughout his career. I mean, you know, word on the street was, oh yeah, he's going to go play in the SPHL. And for the longest time, when I was in the SPHL, Cottonmouth or whatever in this, like, I mean, we didn't recognize each other's suspension. So, you know what? You can't come and play for me for 10 games because you got suspended over here for 10 games and your games are done.
Right.
So they carry over. They're still over there. So whatever. And you know, the leagues, in general, I don't think honor each other's suspensions either. So it doesn't really matter. But you know what? I mean, you know, I know the SPHL probably wouldn't like a Dan Amesbury in the league. Does Danny Amesbury sell tickets? Yes and no. Do we need him in the league? He would be an asset if he would play within the game per se, and just go play. You know, it doesn't mean you can't hit, but just play it smart. You know, I mean, there's probably not too many guys that are going to fight you or want to fight you. So don't go looking for it.
And don't hit a guy in the numbers after a goal's been scored. Puck's nowhere near him.
Right.
There's no reason to ram that guy into the glass.
You know what I mean? And that's the respect factor. That's the respect factor. Like, that's not the game. Like, I mean, that's going to happen once in a blue moon.
Sure.
You know, tight game. It's 3-3. You know, whatever. Like, I mean, it's happened in the NHL. The Hunter brothers, whatever. Like, those guys are on the edge, and you know, every now and then you cross it. You know, it's going to happen, but it's once in a blue moon. It's once in 100 games. It's once every 2 or 3 years that there might be an incident like that in the NHL or whatever. But it can't happen every single night, and that's what's happening a lot of the times. And you know, we just got to clean that up and you know, protect our players. And you know, the league is good. The hockey's been you know, again, you know, you came in last year. It's better than what you probably anticipated.
Absolutely, it is.
And it's entertaining. It really is. As a coach, it's frustrating because you know what? You know, again, we talk about it. You know, I'm up 4-2 going after the first period, and I fall asleep, and it's 6-5 the other guys in the second, and then I come back and win, score 4 goals, and it's 8-5 in the third with a couple scraps here and there. Like, I mean, that's entertaining. It really is. It's not.
It's not Boomer's.
But I mean, for a fan, it's
awesome.
It's awesome. So you know, the hockey's good and it's entertaining and that's good. And it's not good for the league to have, you know, a bunch of teams that only have 1 or 2 wins. You know, it's not good. But on a positive note, anybody can beat anybody on every given night, given night. Hot goalie, and you know, guys like. The one thing with this league is everybody works hard. There's not a team that doesn't work hard. They don't work very smart sometimes, and that's what the problem is.
So, okay, so that's just the first of the rule changes. There's a couple others here that I want to get to. So this one, leaving the bench during an altercation. Automatic 6-game suspension assessed to the first player that leaves the bench or penalty box during an altercation for the purpose of starting or joining an altercation. First player from each team only should multiple players be involved. Now, if multiple players are involved, the second identified player to leave the bench, 3 games. These are in addition to any other penalties assessed. That goes back to tying in with the suspended coaches, and there's another one here about suspended coaches and players. Coaches may not, about the times you can have contact with your team. Players can't participate in the pregame warm-up, can't be on the bench. And so it goes on with that, and then a rehab IR slot. But I mean,
I'm surprised we had to make rules like that because
about coming off the bench.
yes, like I mean,
Well, I think
in any other league, it's been 10 games. Like I mean, in the Central League, it was 10 games. So, I mean, I came out of the penalty box to fight somebody in the Central League, and I sat 10 games. We can't do it. Like I mean, like.
But we've already seen it happen a couple of times.
Well, I know, but I'm pretty sure that rule's in our rule book somewhere. Like I mean, it's unwritten that coming off the bench or coming out of the penalty box to join a fight is automatic number of games. Like I mean, I don't know why we have to make rules when the rules are probably there. I mean, maybe just pull them out of the rule book and highlight them and make sure your coaches know about it.
And so then that 6-gamer means 3 for the coach and 6 games where you're dressing 17 players. Like just to try to feed this all back in and give people an understanding. So then if you get multiple suspensions, that's when your roster gets smaller and smaller.
And you know what? I mean, I like it, but then again, I don't like I to lose one. Yeah, well, and then you know what? I mean, I don't know. Like, if I look back, not so much our brawl we had a couple years back against Carolina, but when I was with Cottonmouth, when I was coaching in the SP, Winston-Salem had the polar bears or the twin bears or whatever. Anyways, and we had a bench clearing brawl there, and my team was not good at that time. I don't know if it was before Christmas or just after Christmas, but it might have been our first year, to be honest with you. I don't know. Anyways, we were on a skid and we weren't playing well, and you know what? Bench clearing brawl, and we were there for 2 games, and 10 guys got suspended or whatever. Or, I don't know. I don't know if it was 10, but it was
right,
it was a lot.
Yeah.
6 or 7, you know. And if it's the right 6 or 7 guys, it's good.
Right. No, that's true.
If it's the right 6 or 7 where your best players are on the ice more and this and that, and you know what? Anyways, the next game we played with like 9 guys or 10 guys or whatever it was, and we ended up winning, and we went on a streak after that because it brought all the guys together and like, you know, type thing or whatever. But anyways, if it's the right guys, it's good, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, it's just, you know, again, we just need every player in the league needs to understand that, you know what, this is pro hockey. Be a professional.
Right.
Be a professional. Have some respect. You know, respect goes a long way. I mean, and that does not mean that I'm not going to slash you or whack you in the back of the legs. I mean, that doesn't mean that. I mean, it's still going to come, and I'm still going to make sure you know that I'm coming. But I mean, just kind of stop all the crap and do it, you know, drop your gloves and fight, and, you know, it's over and done with. We're good. You know, I mean, I don't know, just, again, that respect goes a long way. And, you know, I mean, would I fight every time somebody asked me? Absolutely not. I'd want to fight when I want to fight.
It's situational. Yeah.
Right. But I would not answer the bell. I would not never answer the bell. I just wanted to answer it on my time.
Right. Right. Well, let's take another break here. Well, there's a trade for the River Dragons that was made today. We're going to talk about that when we come back. And then Kirk Underwood will also be joining us in studio, so stay tuned. There's more coming your way in just a moment. This is the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Tom Callahan here, head coach Jerome Bechard, and this week's player guest Kirk Underwood in studio with us. And did want to talk about the River Dragons make a trade today. They trade Lane King to the Motor City Rockers for future considerations. And I know Boomer Kinger hadn't played in a while, and it's really been interesting this year. The River Dragons have made a lot of moves for future considerations. Kind of a nice problem to have, right? You have a very packed roster. You're trying to get everybody playing time, just not everybody fits in the puzzle.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I love Kinger. You know, the biggest thing was need a little bit more. Like we're deep on the blue line, but we're not deep in my type of depth. I need a little bit more of a defensive, stay at home kind of big guy that's physical, and we have enough of the Lane Kings and the Kirk Underwoods, and Undy's not. I say that because he's standing right here or sitting right here, but really when it comes down to it, really looking for, my D pairs, puck moving guy, physical guy, puck moving guy, physical guy, puck moving guy, physical guy, and we're getting to where we need to be.
So when you look at trying to establish that balance, and here's the other thing too, right? I mean, you don't have, we talked about it before, but the luxury last year was you could have a couple extra guys. This year you can have one.
Yeah, no, that 19th guy, and you know what I mean. I know the league in general. There's a few guys that aren't happy with that rule and this and that, but I mean,
you think it changes next year? Do they go to 20 maybe?
It'll go back to somewhere. I mean, they don't know what they want. They never do, and it's always changed. And 19's not bad. Just make sure you got the right 19. Right. I mean, and with the 4 gamers and this and that, and I think what you do need is some type of mechanism, whether it's 4-game tryouts and or the IR or however you want to call it or whatever, but that the 2-week IR or long-term IR, you really do need some type of mechanism. And right now you have that with the IR. I think they added another like a
15 to 31 day
right
IR. They call it rehabilitative IR.
Which just call it a 30-day IR. Like, I mean, they just
right.
Whatever. Put lipstick on a pig, whatever you want to call it. Just it's an IR. We have 2. And that's good, type thing. So, anyways, I think that's important. And whether you need an extra guy or not, I mean, not always. You don't need it all the time. I mean, and as a coach, I mean, the Federal Hockey League, is it a prospects league? Is it a feeder league anywhere else? I don't know if it is or not. Don't really think it is. I mean, and this might get me in trouble, but I mean, who comes to the Federal Hockey League to sit in the stands? Not a whole lot of people. Well, the fans come.
Scouts.
No, I'm talking about players. No players come to sit in the stands. Like, you know what? So to have a 25-man roster and I have 6 guys sitting in the stands chomping at the bit, waiting to get into my lineup is ludicrous.
I can see that. And Kirk, from players' perspective.
Then again, there are players that are doing that.
Correct. Yeah.
So I don't know.
So, all right, players' perspective on that. It's more competitive, right, with 19?
Yes and no. I think that, one, from a player's perspective, I actually like 19 guys just because you don't have that many people sitting in the stands. I think when you have guys sitting in the stands, there's a lot of animosity there, even though it's not player to player, right? There are guys waiting to get their opportunity and maybe think that they should be and things like that, right? And just to build off of Boomer's comment, we are in the FPHL, and people really shouldn't be coming to play for these teams to sit in the stands and shouldn't be expected to, right? I think a 19-man roster is kind of the point of that, and it's trying to get the people that are here in town playing and active, right?
Well, and I think the other negative, I guess, like especially for us, like we're in the South, the Southern teams, there isn't a hockey hotbed of a whole bunch of talent out there, type thing. So that's kind of where the expanded roster is kind of nice. If something does happen, well, I have an extra guy in town already, this and that. I mean, I think the northern teams have a little bit of a head start on us on that because you're near hockey. You're near hockey players, and you can get a guy to come in every now and then to fill in. But I mean, that's whatever.
So you're saying the chances of a Boom Boom and Scorin' Oren reunion out there on the ice? A little far-fetched?
Yeah, after today, yeah, I don't think so.
I
I went just about every shift for about 5 minutes, and I was down. I mean, down. I need to get into shape. I really do get into. Anyways,
well, we're only halfway through the season.
Legends, April 6th. I got a good month and a half to go. I better get myself rolling.
There you go. Circle that on the calendars, everybody. So, hey, that was a lot of fun last year.
It is fun. It is fun, and we should have a pretty good group coming back. I started connecting with guys last week, so it'll be interesting to see who's all here.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll see if we can get the legendary Kirk Underwood one day to come back playing the game as well. So.
Oh, he'd be on the list. He's definitely on the list when he retires.
Nice. So, Kirky, I wanted to ask you, too. We were talking about some of the rule changes that are going on here in the FPHL, and I read them in a previous segment here, but also talking about it seems like, the league is a little more serious. Some suspensions are being handed out. It feels like a little more often. Multiple game suspensions. Now the coach can get suspended. It can affect roster sizes. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that people within the FPHL understand that they need to address, right? There have been a couple of players that have kind of resurfaced in the FPHL within the last couple of years that don't want to play hockey. They're there for one reason. And, the game has changed considerably. And, as much as there is a place for that, it's more of like a time and a place, and it's changing a little bit. So I think that they're trying to crack down on that. And I understand it. I totally do, especially as a player. I have no issue with fighting. I love the time and the place for it, but there's an issue when there's people just trying to hurt people.
Right.
So I understand. I really do.
Well, that's really what you want to get out of the game is the playing the mean-spirited, I'm going to injure this guy because he's valuable to the other team in some way. Like what we talked about earlier. I mean, guys getting jumped at the wrong time, seemingly for no reason. Like what happened to Wicks, earlier this year. Pinkowski goes after him, clearly because Seawolves are upset. And somebody's going to pay some strange price that's been put out there. So why don't you pick one of the guys who's on a hot streak?
Yeah. Get a better player. Maybe you're not going to lose 6-0 every night.
Yeah.
And or when it's a close game, maybe try to win the game as opposed to being a bully.
Let me open a bigger can of worms then. Let me open a bigger can of worms because there's a gap. When I look at the standings, I see 3 really good teams, us, Carolina, Binghamton. I see a couple mid-pack teams, which can include Mississippi, standings-wise does right now, but I put Port Huron there, put Motor City there, Danbury, teams that have the ability to elevate and get back to an elite level, but also could go completely the other way. And then we have the Elmiras, right now, the expansion teams, really. Blue Ridge and the Zydeco, they're trying to figure it out. Okay, that's year 1 for them. But those mid-pack teams, that gap is right now separating more and more and more. Where's the problem? Why is it that we have 3 dominant teams right now? And why is it that the teams that are in that mid-pack are just kind of choosing this avenue? So is that a league problem? Is that a team problem? Is that an ownership problem? Where is the problem? Because it's a problem.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, if you look at it, the teams, most of the teams that have a full-time coach are in the upper echelon, and I think that might be a little bit of an issue. And then you know what? I mean, that's probably the biggest issue. Like Zemi in Withville, new coach, new league, doesn't really know what he has or what he needs, and he's finding that out. Like they're a hard working hockey team. I know we put a spanking on them this weekend, but I mean, most of the weekend it wasn't a 7-0 game. I mean, they played well. They played well in certain areas, and I guess at the end of the day, they just kind of lost focus and this and that. And when you're playing 2-2 on the road and 3-3 on the road, and I want to think I don't even know. I think Mississippi played 6-9, or Port Huron played 7-9 or something like that. I'm not sure what the Withville count was as far as playing over the holidays and all that stuff. That's a lot of hockey. A lot of hockey.
It is. It is. But, and I mean, I'm even willing to give the first year teams a pass and
Oh,
say,
no,
I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
You're figuring it out.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's everybody else.
I think that's the biggest thing. And again, like we talked about earlier, I'm like, Joe, you have the same team, Mississippi. I'm like, you have the same team as you had last year. Like, what makes you think you're going to be any better?
Right. Right.
You have the same characters. You have the same everything. Like, what makes you think you're going to be better? And you know what? They can hurt you. They have they got a team that can put the puck in the net. Mississippi. Their problem is not scoring goals.
Right.
They just gotta keep them out of their own net. Like, I mean, they're leading the league in goal scoring, I think. When it comes down to it, like, I mean, it's not goal scoring that's their problem. Like, they just don't care if they win. If they just want to win, they don't care if they're going to win 10-9 or 9-8. They don't care, type thing. So, anyways, I don't know, and that's I think that's really the majority of the teams that are in the middle of the pack.
To underscore your point, 110 goals for, that's second. 131 goals against. That is by far worst. So, but I mean, where, and I'm just trying to figure out, why is there such a gap in this league if we're all supposed to be the same level? You know what I mean? Parity is the word that gets thrown around a lot.
Well,
different sports.
The funny thing is anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Like, I mean, we can lose this weekend easy if we don't show up, But I mean, the biggest thing is, and I guess it kind of starts with me, but the culture in that locker room, we want to win. There's everybody in that locker room has, I'd say, money on the table. Everybody has something, that they want, and they're all paying the price to be in first place. Where some of the guys on the other teams, they're not really paying the price. The culture's not there. This is, something fun. I'm down at the beach.
Right.
I get to do this and that. Like, I mean, those places, Pensacola's, the Vegas's, you have to be on your P's and Q's and be very disciplined to play in those places, because there's a lot of distraction, type thing. So, I mean, I think that's the majority of it. Whether it's coaching, it's not coaching per se. It's probably more culture. And it does help. It does help to have a full-time head coach that does not play hockey on the team.
Right.
Because, I mean, as a player coach, you have to be perfect. And not perfect per se, but, I mean, you have to really do a lot of everything the right way. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do this and that. But, I mean, you got to be first guy there. You got to be the last guy off. You got to be, you have to be that guy. You have to be probably the hardest working guy. You have to be, disciplined enough on your routes. And most of the routes you're doing that where you're supposed to be all the time. When I was retiring, when I was about ready to go, I was doing all that. And even when I was an assistant coach, when I'd fill in a drill, I would double check and triple check that I was doing it. If I was playing center, I would be low and slow, making sure, I'm where I need to be, just to show the guys that we're actually supposed to be doing it to do it. And, so when you have a full-time head coach that loses his mind and is punching guys in the head like continuously and this and that, you're telling the rest of the team it's all right to do that.
Right.
If you do it once in a blue moon because it was a highly contested game and something going on, and I got in a scrap, totally different. But I mean, to constantly, do that, you're sending a message to the rest of your team saying, "Hey, it's all right to do it. I'm undisciplined, so you can be undisciplined,"
Yep.
and not cool.
And a guy who knows all about playing in the bright lights of Las Vegas, Kirk Underwood, his UNLV hat sitting here right in front of us. So, Kirk, how'd you handle the pressure of Vegas? Bright lights, big city.
Well, I mean, you're not from there, so where are you from?
I'm from Colorado.
Okay, yeah.
So no, it was different. It was a different experience for sure. You definitely had to be on your P's and Q's.
But you went to school there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So school, I don't know. I guess you're going to school there and you have a job. You still have a job. I don't know. I guess you can still go down the wrong path either way. Whatever.
I played with a lot of kids that became academically ineligible for, for the wrong reasons.
The old academically ineligible.
Yeah.
Well, and I would imagine if you're going to Vegas, most of your parents were probably not well off, but you could probably afford to go out and do some stuff. No?
It's actually the opposite.
Really?
I think I was paying like $2,000 a semester to go there. It was cheaper than when I played D3.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah.
So does that mean you had money to spend when you went out then?
No, I had a full-time job when I was working,
do?
and when I was playing there too. No, but there was plenty of things to fall into for sure.
I bet. You know what? We are way behind on our breaks right now. So what I'm going to do is actually, boom, you get to go home early. So since you carried the entire show on your back for a half hour, but Kirk and I are going to come back and talk because we have some special nights coming up, and I really do want to get into those. There's plenty coming up for the River Dragons here, and we'll get a couple more thoughts out there as well when it comes to the hockey side of things. So stick around. There's more coming your way in just a moment. This is the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Welcome back here on the Behind the Bench Coaches Show. Tom Callahan here with you. Kirk Underwood remains here. We sent Boomer to the showers. Said, grab a towel. That's it. Your night's over. Get out. So it'll be interesting to see, Kirky, if these suspensions, just to kind of wrap that thought up. Now that the coach is involved, like I was saying to Boomer earlier, in the NHL, when they wanted to stop the bench clearings in the 70s and 80s, what did they do? They started handing down suspensions to the coaches. So maybe this is how they get it to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that they do kind of crack the code on that one. Just like we were talking, there's no reason for guys to just be getting hurt to get hurt, right? We need to focus on hockey. There is a decent amount of talent in this league. Plenty of guys like Justin McDonald that could go and play in the SP or the Coast, and there's no reason that someone that just came out of their living room can hurt him and end his season. You know what I'm saying? So I do hope they figure it out.
That reminds me of way back lockout. What was it? I think it was 04-05. Scott Gomez was playing with the Alaska Aces in the East Coast League, and because he was from Alaska. Then he breaks his femur because some tool thinks he's going to make a name for himself by boarding Scott Gomez. Well, the bench door opened, and he broke his femur. It is hard to break your femur.
Yeah.
But that's, some guy ran him, and it's just, I hate that. It's just terrible.
Yeah, there's no place for that in hockey. There really isn't.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. There will be plenty more discussion about this, I'm sure, as we go. However, you and I need to talk about some things that are coming up. Now, I do want to say we have Pucks and Prayers coming up on Wednesday the 17th. That's a big, important game. So I guess we could start there. I kind of told you I was going to let you lead, but I led. So.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, we have Pucks and Prayers, which is on the 17th. That's a faith-based night, obviously. It's on the Wednesday night, kind of geared towards groups that are meeting on Wednesday nights regularly. So if you have a faith-based group that is meeting on Wednesday nights, that's definitely the game for you. I think it would be a really fun outing.
And there's a guest speaker, Pastor Kevin McDonald.
Kevin McDonald, he is the man, the myth, the legend, and he will absolutely be making a guest appearance and speaking during that game.
I believe we also have some, I don't want to call it musical entertainment because it's not like we're putting on a concert here. However, I do believe we have at least a singer lined up not only doing the anthem, but also maybe some gospel songs and some things of that nature. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
It is. We're building on it every single year. I think it is getting better and better, and we're trying to cater to the community, right? And I think that is a really big part of this community, which is faith.
What do we have coming up after Pucks and Prayers Wednesday the 17th?
Yeah, we have a couple of big games. One is going to be Hometown Heroes, which is January 27th, and that is geared towards first responders, any medical professionals, anything of that nature. We are trying to work some deals with Houston and Piedmont, as well as every police department in and around the Columbus area, as well as emergency responders and firefighters as well. That'll be a big one. And then we also have our game coming up, which is February 3rd. That's Military Night. And that is kind of usually our biggest game of the year. Last year, we put over 7,600 people in the arena.
Which was crazy.
It was really
amazing.
cool. It was really cool. I had the first and another goal that night. So that was a fun game for me as well. No, but it's always a fun crowd. And, we get the opportunity to donate a lot of tickets to the base. So we often see a good turnout from soldiers and military family, which is what we want, right? We want those people at that game to celebrate them and everything that they do for us in their everyday lives. So we're hard at work with that game. If you own a business, or if you are an individual that would like to support that night, please get in contact with us. There are many ways that you can either donate tickets to the base or support a unit. There's so many different ways to support that night. But beyond that, just going a little bit more into the future, February 9th is going to be Automotive Night. There are quite a few dealerships with and around Columbus, auto parts stores, mechanics, shops, everything of that nature as well. So those are 4 big games coming up in the near future.
I bet you Austin is going to be fired up for that one.
Oh, yeah. No, that is right up his alley.
Yeah, he's a car guy. We talked about that earlier this year in his racing in the summer, and so that'll be a good one for him. It's funny because, he and I are always talking Formula One on the bus, and Boomer just rolls his eyes at us. So, but I'm looking forward to that now. Now I'm fired up about it. I'm ready to go. So, but a lot of big nights. So, Kirk, if folks are out there, a group, first of all, let's tell you is 10 or more. And it kind of starts from there. And I think groups of 30 or more, there's special perks that you can get if you want to enlighten people about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Groups of 30 more, you get really cool perks or opportunities if your group so chooses. You can do things like taking a photo on the ice. You can potentially get into the high five tunnel during the game. There's lots of different cool activations like that depending on the group size that you bring. Beyond that, there's also some add-ons that you can choose, like chuck-a-pucks or merchandise or things of that nature too. But
the merch shopping spree is pretty cool.
The merch shopping spree is really cool, and we just have some new merch that I'm actually wearing right now. I know you can't see me, but our blackout jerseys that we just debuted, we just created some really cool merch that we are now selling. So that is one thing to keep in mind.
How do we get a hold of you and or the River Dragons to take advantage of this?
Yeah, so my phone number is 720-975-5306, or you can email me at Kirk, which is KIRKU @ignitesportsusa.com, or you can call our office phone number, which I'm sure Tom has memorized.
I do, 706-507-4625, which is 507-GOAL.
Right.
For anybody who still ever looks at the letters under the numbers on their phone. So we look forward to hearing from folks. And Kirky, I thank you for stopping by, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, best of luck out there on the ice, too. Keep it rolling. It looks good right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, brother, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. All right, well, that's it for this week's Behind the Bench Coaches Show. My thanks to Kirk Underwood and Jerome Boom Boom Bechard. I'm Tom Callahan. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Actually, next time we'll talk to you Friday night. Elmira River Sharks in town, 7:35 puck drop, 7 o'clock on the pregame show. This has been the Behind the Bench Coaches Show.